understand the complexities on how to deal with the West. And of course, as an economist and as the former president of the ICIMA, you fully grasp the importance of the private sector. You understand also the commercial interest that Iran has, and of course you are working on how to best realize this potential. So my first question would be, of course, on the image of Iran. And for decades, Iran has had to cope with concepts such as Iranophobia and Islamophobia. Now, President Rouhani's government started a constructive interaction with the West, promoting a culture of dialogue to tear down this wall of distrust. Now, even though there were lobbying forces, and even though new ballistic sanctions have been implemented, now what misperceptions of Iran are still in place? And according to you, what values truly resonate with Iran?
As you rightly mentioned, Iran has been victimized by this disinformation and misinformation campaign. Right after Islamic Revolution, unfortunately, Western media sided with the wrong forces. Iran was attacked by Saddam Hussein, but it took more than 10 years for the world to realize that Iran was on the right side and they were on the wrong side. In the case of Afghanistan and the Taliban regime, unfortunately, the Western media and American foreign policy, which was behind that wrong image making, it took them decades to realize that Iran was on the right side and American foreign policy was on the wrong side. It is very fortunate now, after JCPOA, that the world has the opportunity to have a fresh look at Iran. A window of opportunity for both sides has been opened. And the immediate fruit of this realization of the real Iran would be economic opportunities for both sides, as well as peace and security in the region and international cooperation. Now it seems that more and more people in circles of power have recognized the fact that Iran is not ignorable. Iran is an asset that no one can afford to neglect. In world politics, in world economy, in world cultural life. It was a victory not only for Iran, but also for the world, that after all those years of pessimism and suspicion, there was an opportunity to see the real Iran, to have a dialogue with real Iran, and have a common outcome with Iran. I mean the nuclear negotiations. And if you look at the final result, it is nothing but just reaffirmation of what Iran was saying from day one, that Iran is not after nuclear weaponry. But Iran wants to keep up with its rights to nuclear technology, peaceful nuclear technology. And that is the summary of JCPOA. And all of those years of imposing unjust and unlawful sanctions on Iran was a waste of time. And to us, it was against human rights, because the ordinary people were suffering because of the extra costs of the sanctions. So if that can be used as a lesson in other areas, also the same approach of win-win solution can be applied, be it in economic cooperation, Iran having the largest energy resources in the world, if you put oil and gas together, can be a source of energy security for all European countries. Iran having one of the richest human resources, as you mentioned, with regards to the educated young labor force, can help growth of the world economy and international trade. I was just informed of a study done by McKinsey Global Institute. They have reached this result that in 20 years, there is the potential of $1 trillion of increase in Iran's output. This means 1% growth for international economy, world economy as well. Again, on that very subject of fight against terrorism, Iran was one of the main victims of terrorism. Many of our revolutionary leaders were assassinated by terrorists inside Iran. Unfortunately, in those days, the Western governments, instead of standing by Iranian government, they embraced the terrorist organizations. And now that similar ideologies, extremist, not only interpretations, but abuse of Islam has been spread over into even European countries. Now that they are facing the terror inside their homes, now they are getting to realize the main difference between the kind of Islam that the Islamic Republic of Iran was introducing, a system with a thinking, with standing by peace, rule of law, respect for human rights. This is one Islam. And the other side, the other interpretation, which was funded by some oil money all over the world, that reading of Islam was something that we stood against. Now the world has realized that they have sided by the wrong picture and the wrong interpretation. So it's not only politics, it's also cultural relations. It's the way of thinking in which Iran can help the world understanding, as it has done so thousands of years ago. Iran has been cradle of civilization and still can contribute to that world-class understanding of human and humanity. Iran has not been proud of its wars. Iran has been proud of Avicenna. Iran has been proud of Hafiz. Iran has been proud of Sa'di. If you go to streets of Tehran or Mashhad or Kashan or any village in Iran and talk to people and ask them to read for yourself by heart of 100 poems, they will do. Not many countries in the world you can have that kind of dialogue, poetry, art, philosophy. That is part of real Iran. And unfortunately, the world has not gotten enough of a chance to see this real picture of Iran. So you are right. On political scenery, Iran can contribute and has contributed to peace and stability, if that can be looked at as one vivid example. Iran's resistance against Saddam for 8 years without any help from outside world, that was a service to humanity, because that inhuman regime showed that if had gotten chance, it would attack any other neighbor, as it did to Kuwait. So Iran has actually paid the cost of stopping Saddam Hussein with no reward, no words of thanks from the world community.
And reformers have won 42%, I think, of the 290 seats. As independents constitute around 30% of the rest of the parliament, as many of them are said to be reform-minded, this could actually be the moment to actually push reforms through. So what kind of social and economic reforms can we expect from the Rouhani government this year?
I think what people showed in the recent elections was another vote of confidence in the way Iran is being governed after 92 elections, presidential elections. People favored this win-win approach with the world. People said yes to the kind of economic policies that the new administration has put in force, providing stability in macroeconomy, bringing down inflation from more than 40% to
13, 14
it depends on whether you're talking about point-to-point inflation rate or average. Now it's the point-to-point inflation is less than 10%, and we are expecting every month and any month that the average inflation will go under 10%. So one of the promises of reaching one-digit inflation rate will be fulfilled. So people showed that they like what is going on. And now with Parliament more favorable to this kind of policy, we can expect reasonably that the pace and the speed of what has to be done for the society will go up. What it means is that we'll have more harmony between Parliament and the administration, faster passing of the legislations that government needs, for example, with regards to the 5-year plan or annual budgets, or cutting off bureaucracy. One of the hurdles that we have been facing in economy and in social life, it has been too much of bureaucracy. So the government has that priority, and now the Parliament would help us to put aside some of this red tape. With regards to giving more room for private sector, for entrepreneurship, these are some of the necessary conditions for a better business environment. Initiative of Chamber of Commerce. There was a piece of legislation a few years ago which was passed by the Parliament with regards to improvement of business environment. The new administration has committed itself to implement that law.
Are you referring to Article 44?
No, this is different. This is after the law of implementation of Article 44. The law reads the law of continuous improvement of business environment. And in different articles of that law, competition has been upheld. Some of the advantages that the public sector used to have, that has been put aside. So private sector will have a stronger footing in economy. Access to information, for example, is strengthened there. There are many articles. I recommend you to go and get an English copy of that law. So this new administration is committed to implementing that law. And also, in some of the steps that government has taken, it has shown that it is ready to transfer some of the projects that even the government has initiated in different provinces to private sector. And now that the sanctions are lifted, government encourages the cooperation between domestic private sector and foreign companies. Any delegation which comes to Tehran, they are willing to visit and meet some of the ministers. One of the recommendations that we have is go to Chamber of Commerce and meet our private sector as well. And also in our monetary policy, in our tax policy, everywhere government sees an opportunity to empower private sector would do so. Of course, there are more advantageous sectors in Iranian economy when you look around. Oil and gas has always been very attractive to foreign interests. Power generation, because some of our neighbors are in demand of power. So companies from those countries and third countries have been very interested in benefiting from low price oil and gas in Iran for exporting power to neighboring countries. Our petrochemical industry has been very attractive to foreign investors.
It has been doing very well, I think, 26%
yes.
increase in exports.
Exactly, exactly. So you have seen, let me emphasize on this point, that from the time that this new administration started working, although it was under sanctions and all of that, but the first signal that we wanted to give to the outside world was that it is not economic sanctions which is pushing us towards negotiation. We managed stability in our economy before lift of sanctions, and this is very important to emphasize. Inflation came down even before the sanctions were over. So it showed that that ability to govern the economy is there. And now that the international relations and international opportunities are added, of course, we would have more rapid growth and stable growth. So talking about other sectors, infrastructure is very important. One of the priorities in President Rouhani's plan is expanding the railway system, connecting Iran through railways to all neighboring countries. We are already connected to Turkmenistan and through Turkmenistan to Russia and to China. In less than a year, Iran will be connected to Iraq through railway. We have agreed with Azerbaijan. There is a small piece that will connect our two railway systems to each other. Iran will be connected to Afghanistan very soon. So Iran is going to take advantage of this local advantage, which has geographically connecting east to west and north to south. This is one of the priorities, and some companies have found it very feasible economically to invest in that. We are now having proposals from India, from some European countries to invest in that infrastructure. And along with that goes our road system, our airline. Iran is coming back again to that business internationally as well. Our food industry has been prosperous in the past, and one of the potential areas of export which has shown to be profitable is the food industry. Despite the fact that we don't have that much rain, but our agriculture industry has shown a positive growth all along through the last 3 years. And we have had a very ambitious plan for our Khuzestan and Ilan province in cultivating some of the land there through irrigation projects, and also on the west of the country. So even on agriculture sector, we are seeing a very bright future. On service industry, and I want to emphasize on the part which is mainly knowledge-based. In ICT, in finance, there is a vast potential for employment of educated young people in our service industry. So modernizing our service industry is another area which attracts a lot of investors. You mentioned tourism, for example. For anyone who knows about the history of Iran, of course, Iran is a good target for ordinary tourism, historical tourism. But not only that. Now we are investing in health tourism. We are having a lot of people coming from neighboring countries for benefiting from our medical system. And we are investing on that more than before. So these are all attractive areas and sectors for investment. And at the same time, Iran is investing in other economies. You know, we have this National Development Fund. Part of oil money goes to that fund. And by law, it is only for the private sector. So the government cannot touch that. And for that fund to preserve its purchasing power, it has to have its income in foreign currency. So part of its projects is investing in world economy. So this is a two-way road.
It is a two-way road. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to